Cocktail Conversations, candid insights from startup founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders from around the globe.
Hi, my name is Harper Reed. I was a CTO for Obama's re-election campaign between, I think, 2011 and 2012, a 2-year gap there. And now I have a small startup here in Chicago called Lunar Technologies, and we're building the future of e-commerce. I think one of the president's biggest talents is finding people to kind of be part of his inner circle. And so one of the people he found is David Plouffe, who is one of the best innovators I think has ever been invented, if you can invent an innovator. But you know, he's done such good work, and he started obviously with the Obama campaign in 2008, and his influence is what created the world that we lived in 2012. And I think you see that every day in the White House as well. There wasn't really one moment that sticks out, and I think it's just because everything we did, no matter if it was good or bad, we iterated through. And so we constantly said to ourselves kind of, is this the right thing? If not, we fixed it. Quick remediation. And you know, Michael Slaby, who's the guy who hired me, was really the biggest teacher of this. And so I think like with his teaching, we just made it through all of those hard spots, all the fun spots, all the easy spots. In the very beginning, Jim Messina said to me, and I'm pretty sure he said it to every single staff person, if there is not a metric, it doesn't exist. So if you have a problem and you can't back it up with metrics, if you have a solution and you can't back it up with metrics, they're fake. And so what we looked at is we said, how is this working? What is this going to impact? What is the number that's going to go up or go down? And then how do we make sure that happens? And so because we were so metrics driven, we didn't actually have to have an actual solution for everything. We were able to test our way through to find a solution. Sometimes we failed and sometimes we were successful. Most of the time we were successful. When you listen and you read up on how the Romney campaign was won or run, it seemed that they did things much like we used to do them in tech, or in business, where the technology group was in a separate room, in a separate building, far away, and they were tasked things very specifically, but they were not invited into the boardroom necessarily. You had this kind of set of executives, and you had the people who are operational, and they only talked through proxies. And so the innovation, one of the main innovations of the Obama campaign was merging those two groups. So the operators and the executives were very close and talked to one another every day. And so every day there was a strategy meeting with the senior folks that tech and analytics was involved with. Every week there was high-level tech strategy meetings with the executives. And so you had this hand in hand, and what that did is it empowered the people who were doing the work to get the work done and to reach out to executives to get that work done, and it empowered the executives to be bought into those solutions. The campaign taught me a lot about leadership. I think the main thing they taught me though was how important it is to listen and to trust your employees. And they didn't teach me necessarily how to be a better leader. I think I was a fine leader, but I think what I learned more so how to do was to trust. And I think that ended up making a better leader. We didn't have time to micromanage. And so you just kind of had to say, go do this and run and do it and then tell me how it went. But we had to do that on the scale of millions of volunteers. So someone at the very top, Jeremy Bird in this case, had to have a staff that would go all the way down to someone that's in Colorado that he's never met, that's actually interacting face to face with people. So this person not only represents the campaign, but represents the president. So you have to have a good amount of trust, good enough documentation, all this important stuff to let them do their jobs and to really empower them to make good decisions. Technology needed to only execute. We could not mess up. We could only execute. I'll say that again. We could only execute. We could not innovate. So if someone came in and said, hey, I have this really great augmented reality thing, it changes the world, we're just like, cool, we'll talk to you in 2016. Because today, we just need to make sure we re-elect the president. We can't do anything else. And so as a CTO, this takes away a lot of the kind of experimentation, a lot of the research, a lot of the kind of, I'm going to be a tech leader, and puts you well back into how do we make sure that the risks we're taking will only play out. We used a lot of metrics, we used a lot of testing, we did a lot of work to make sure that all of our work was, all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. At this point I like to talk about rocket surgery and all sorts of fun things, but I think the best thing is just make sure you're metrics driven, make sure that you're listening to your employees, and make sure that you're not just doing tech for tech's sake.